Hello, hello. Well, it's official. We're back. It's time for season 2. I know, you guys have all been waiting for this. My name is Allie, and I'm one of the lead producers on the Life at Disney podcast, the show where you'll discover what it's like to be part of the story at the Walt Disney Company. And I am so excited to be kicking off season 2 with a very special bonus episode all about our hosts for this season. So, joining me today across the globe are Cassie, LaJoy, Stephen, Natalie, and Stephen. And I think I can speak for everyone by saying not only are we thrilled to have you all with us this season as hosts, but I'm even more excited to have the opportunity to introduce you all and your stories to our listeners. So, are you guys ready? This is your time to shine. I think we can dive right into our first question. I'm going to start a little simple for you guys to just ease you into this, but can you all go around and share with us your name, role, and how long you've been with the company?
Hello, everyone. My name is LaJoy Mercer, and I have been with Disney for a little bit over 18 years, and I'm currently a technical recruiter for our professional internship program as well as early careers roles.
I'm Natalie Perella. I've been with the company since 2005, so just shy of 20 years with the company. And I'm one of the senior recruiters for Disney Cruise Line. So I recruit for all of our shipboard positions, primarily focused upon our entertainment operations.
Hi, I'm also in our talent acquisition family. My name is Cassie Eckerella. I'm remotely based in my hometown in Ewa Beach, Hawaii. I started in California with Disney Action, the Burbank offices, and I'm a leader on our enterprise sourcing and research team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Lim. This year will be my 10th year with the Walt Disney Company, which is very exciting. And I'm currently a guest experience manager at Disney's Animal Kingdom in the park arrival area. So guest relations, vacation planning, and main entrance.
I'm Stephen Miller. They don't count the college program time, which was summer 1997, but I've been officially full-time more than 25 years. I'm currently a senior manager with corporate social responsibility, and I lead our Walt Disney World ambassador team here at Walt Disney World in Florida.
Awesome. So we have some variation in years here on this group. So like Natalie, you've been here for 20 years. Stephen Miller, you've been here for 25 years. Stephen Lim, you've been here 10 years. What has kept you guys here for so long, and what are some of your past roles, and what kind of led you into the role that you're in now? So Stephen Miller, I'll start with you since you've been here the longest.
Well, it's working with Stephen Lim, I think probably is the one that kept me here.
That's it.
It has to be it.
You're welcome.
And because Stephen and I did get a chance to work together, because Stephen served as a Walt Disney World ambassador back in 2019 to 2021. So, and I served as an ambassador back in 2001, 2002. And I think that's the important piece. And I joke, but it is true. It's the people. I mean, that's the reason. We're drawn from all over the world to work at the most magical company in the world. And to me, that has been the thing that has been a thread of my career experience is the people you work with. And they fill your cup, they fill your heart with joy, and we get to do some pretty amazing things here at Disney. So, yeah.
I agree with that. Having been here for 10 years, the people are incredible, but also the opportunities. Like even within 10 years, I've worked in guest relations, I've worked in communications and public affairs, I've worked in sales and marketing, I've worked in premium services, I've worked a lot in resort operations. So even within 10 years, I've had, I feel like, quite a few different careers within that. And there is, I don't think, any other company where you can have such a diverse experience all still within the same company and with the same incredible people.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more with all of that, to be honest. And I realized I didn't say earlier, I feel like I'm in Disney years, the baby of the group. I unofficially 6 years, but not kind of my contract time. So 5 years, I just got my 5-year pin. Like yesterday came in the mail. And I always joke that honestly feels like 20, but in the best way possible because of that opportunity to be in different roles. And our TA leaders always talk about thinking of your career as like a jungle gym here at Disney and how internal mobility and you can really grow and have different careers at Disney. I'm thankful to have had that opportunity. And yeah, you're so right. It's like you grow with the brand in so many different ways, and then you get to keep your partners and the great people you work with. No matter where you go, you still make that connection, and it just feels like it adds to your career, all within Disney. So I really relate to that for sure.
Yeah, I would just say, really, I echo everyone's sentiments, and this is a question that I always get from interns. And I always say three things. One is the people, which you all mentioned. I just have so many incredible mentors and friends that I've met working at this incredible company. The second thing is definitely the career development opportunities. Right now, I'm on my third career with the company. I started as an intern, and I was able to be a leader in our theme parks and attractions for many years, working over at Disney's Hollywood Studios and the Magic Kingdom, getting to be a part of so many iconic experiences for our guests. And then I also worked in consumer insight research as a research leader for a few years. And now I'm with recruitment. And while I've been on the recruitment team, I've been able to recruit for many different organizations and businesses. I've worked for Walt Disney World, recruiting for our theme parks and resorts. I've also worked for Disneyland Engineering, Disney Streaming, and I'm currently recruiting for our enterprise technology partners, and they actually are the business behind all of the tech that we have here at the Walt Disney Company. And I've also had the opportunity to work with our Disney Hospitality Leadership Program, and I'm also currently working with our Disney Experiences Communications and Public Relations internship. So there's just so many, great opportunities here at Disney. That was a mouthful. And and the last thing I would say, of course, would be the brand affinity that I have, just being a huge Disney fan. So all of those things continue to keep me here each day making the magic.
I love the fact that we're all from different parts of the company, different parts of the globe, and yet we're all echoing the same sentiments, which is amazing. So for me, obviously being from the UK, I didn't always know if there was going to be an opportunity for me to work with the Walt Disney Company. And then lo and behold, the beauty of Disney Cruise Line came a calling. And I joined in 2005, and I started out as part of their entertainment team on board as one of their entertainment hosts, and then worked my way up through several different roles on board, ultimately becoming one of their executive cruise directors. So overseeing all of their entertainment on board our ships. Before I then transitioned to our talent acquisition team, Shoreside, based here in the London office, which also allowed me the opportunity to have my family, but also continue my wonderful career as well. And I think, it's echoing what everybody's already said. For me, it was threefold. It was one, the guest experience. The fact that we get to make magic and make people smile every day was just something I'd never experienced in any other position that I had had. It was just absolutely incredible. The second thing, as everybody has touched upon, is the people that you work with. They truly become your family, and having everyone have that same passion, enthusiasm, and drive to go above and beyond each and every day was something that truly motivated and inspired me to be the best version of myself. And then thirdly, I think, as also LaJoy just mentioned, was that career growth, the opportunity. I love the fact that here at the Walt Disney Company, we pride ourselves on promoting from within and finding those shining stars within our organization. And I think, all of us have been a part of that at some part of our career thus far. And I love being able to instill that in other crew and other cast members as well, and allowing them to achieve their goals. So I think that's definitely some of the key things that have kept me coming back.
Awesome. Yeah, no, everything you guys said, I completely agree with. I mean, I started on the college program, like a lot of you, and then I did a professional internship, which I actually got to work with Stephen in on the same team, public affairs, as an intern. And then even when I was a coordinator on this team, I worked with Stephen Lim for Casting Scout. So it's like very cool to see just how full circle this company can be. And like, you never know where or who you might work with later on down the line. And it's like, I now produce a podcast. Never did I think that I would be someone who's producing a podcast for the entire company. So it's just really, really cool how here at Disney, like you can truly do anything. And it's, you might not know like what you could do or like what you're capable of. Switching gears a little bit into kind of the more fun questions that I have for you all. So Stephen, you actually asked this question, Stephen Miller. You asked this question, and I love it. I had to steal it. So, something I want to ask you guys is what is your earliest Disney memory? And we just kind of talked about how, as kids, we had this affinity with the brand, and that's one of the reasons why we work here today. So, Stephen Miller, because I stole this from you, I will start with you. So, what is your earliest Disney memory?
I didn't visit Epcot until I was 7, but I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. And I think probably the earliest, there's a photo of me somewhere, probably like 1 or 2, wearing a Donald Duck t-shirt. And I'm like standing, I don't know, standing, my parents took a picture of that. So I don't know, my parents clearly must have got that shirt for me. But what I remember is Mickey Mouse Disco on vinyl. and so this is late 70s, right? And I remember my younger sister and I like just dancing to that, or like roller skating around the basement of our house, like listening to It's the Greatest Band. And I don't know, that whole album, from the back, probably the music. And that's funny because now I love music. The music of our parks is just phenomenal. And it's years later, but it certainly was an influence. I think it's probably my earliest memories I have.
I definitely grew up in the age of Disney VHSs. So The Lion King on repeat in my household, rewinding, putting it back in. But for at least our parks, I grew up in California, and I visited Disneyland maybe every year, every other year with family who lived in Southern California. And so I do have pictures of me very little in Dumbo crying until the ride begins, and then I start smiling, and then that's when my parents knew that I was probably going to work at a theme park. But for my actual memory, I remember visiting when I was 8, because that was the first trip that I was tall enough to ride all of the larger attractions like Space Mountain and the Matterhorn and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Like, I remember that trip because I got to do things that I had never done in previous trips. And around 8 is really when you start to form some of those memories too. So that was a really fun trip.
Oh my gosh. I was just about to say, like, I'm sure there are memories that I don't remember, like experiences, but growing away from a parker in a state that didn't have one of our amazing Disney parks, definitely the TV shows and the movies. I was a big DCOM girl, So my favorite movie growing up was Mulan. Like, you can't see the rest of my office, but there's Mulan stuff everywhere. The ears are right here. But that was like my favorite movie growing up on repeat. I still watch it pretty regularly now and play it in the background while I'm working or if I'm cleaning, folding laundry. Just such an awesome soundtrack. But I remember when like new decom movies would come out, all my cousins just trying to watch it together, or just being together and just enjoying movies. And looking back now, I know why. Like, I Disney Plus, thank God for that, because it's fun to watch those and remember experiencing it now that I'm older, and then remembering when I was a kid. Oh, I watched this for the first time with all my cousins sitting around. When we had like the really big televisions, they weren't like the nice flat ones, the big ones, and it was not that large of a screen. But those movies definitely near and dear to my heart. Decom forever.
Well, but before I answer the question, since you're talking about DComs, I have to say my favorite is the Descendants franchise. So just want to put that out there. Uh, and in terms of my earliest memories, so I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, so I didn't grow up near the theme parks. In fact, my first trip wasn't until I was in the 8th grade on a school field trip. But my earliest memory, I would say, as a child, I like a couple of you have mentioned there. I have seen a photo of me and my sister at my grandmother's house, and I'm wearing this adorable Mickey Mouse shirt. And even though I don't remember, like taking that picture, I'm like, obviously I was exposed to Disney, but the first memory that I have is going on a school field trip to see the opening of the Little Mermaid movie. And from there, I was obsessed. I remember somehow I got a subscription to the Little Mermaid magazine. I got, all the like the Little Mermaid merch, etc. So growing up, that was definitely like my favorite movie.
So I think I'm similar to Stephen Lim, how I grew up in the realm of VHS, where it was like you save all your pocket money just to try and get a video, and you didn't have the joys of streaming nowadays where you could watch it as easy as a click of a button. It really was saving up. So that was definitely part of it. But another piece, similarly to the other ladies, was not growing up near a park. And um, both of my parents were big, big Disney fans and saved up for years to be able to take us to Florida. And I remember it was like my dad's big birthday wish to take us all to Florida for the first time. And so we got to go in 1991. And I remember standing at the top of Main Street and I turned around to my dad and I said, I'm going to work for this company one day. And my dad was like, yeah, sure. Last week you wanted to be a veterinarian, the week before that, a teacher, it was that kind of story. And I was like, no, I am. And ever since then, it was always the goal. It was always the drive. It was always the dream to work for the company in some way, shape, or form. And I've still got my plush, my Mickey and Minnie plush from our holiday in 1991. So it's crazy now because those plushes are now part of my child's, bed little setup. So yeah, kind of crazy.
Can I just ask, like, now, like, we all talk about our first earliest Disney memory, to have you guys consider, like, now that we're an adult, like, what has been your favorite since then? And I don't know, I'll start since I asked because it came into my head when you were talking, Natalie. It's like, I remember the first trip my family went to Disneyland. I was in high school, so I was a teenager. I had a great time. My siblings were younger, so I didn't really know what to expect. All I'd known about the parks were when someone was Super Bowl, like, I'm going to Disney World, I'm going to Disneyland, right? So that was all I had in my head about it. But I'll say my favorite memory as an adult was taking my parents for the first time with my benefits. Like, that was my absolute favorite, getting to take my parents after I know they saved so much to take us when I was younger. Being able to take them, and it was around Lunar New Year too. And my mom's name is actually Minnie, well, Minerva, but we call her Minnie. So I'm buying her all the Minnie gear all the time, always. So I always get her and my dad like just matching stuff, Minnie, Mickey. My dad's name is Richard, not Mickey, just to clarify. But that was one of my favorite memories, just taking my parents. But that, and like, holds a special place in your heart too, because you remember as a child when you went for the first time, and then now being able to take your loved ones because like you're part of the company, you can share the magic. Like, that's one of my favorite things about working here too.
Yeah. Cassie, I would say that's a really great question, actually. And mine's very, very similar to yours. I think to your point, right? My parents saved for ages to get me, to where I was. They helped me through college. They helped me through university. Like, they really shaped my childhood and the start of my career. And so being able to pay them back with having them come on a cruise and see me perform and kind of reap the rewards of what they had sown for me was so special. And I remember my dad had always wanted to take a cruise. My mom, it was never really a big thing for her. I think she was a little bit nervous and apprehensive. And when I started my career, I joined the Disney Wonder, which at the time was doing a 3 and 4 day cruise. So I'd said to my parents, in fact, I was doing 4 months out at sea, and then they extended my contract. And my first contract ended up being 8 months out at sea. And my mom was like, I can't go 8 months without seeing you. And I said, well, I guess you're going to have to come and sail. And I was like, not being funny, it's 3 or 4 days. If you don't like it, you can get off after that, no problem. Well, they've been on probably 20, 30 odd cruises now. I can't get them off. But I think to your point, bringing them on for that first time, having them see me on that deck stage hosting with Mickey and the gang, it was just such an incredibly proud moment, and a thank you to them for everything that they'd done to get me to where I was as well.
I think a memory that comes to my mind in my adulthood was actually when I was attending one of our theme parks as a guest. I remember very vividly waiting for a parade at Magic Kingdom, and there were these two little girls with like bubble wands. Like, one had a bubble wand and one had like another like light up toy, and one would blow the bubbles and the other would like run around like trying to pop them. And these two girls, they didn't know each other, like their families didn't come together. And one of the families spoke English and one of the families spoke Spanish. And for me, I just had this moment where I was sitting there observing two kids who didn't even speak the same language, creating a moment of joy and happiness. And I think when I think about moments where I felt the power of our brand and the power of our experiences, that's what I think of. It still sticks with me today how people from all over the world, no matter what background, can come here and experience something. And they all come here for the same reasons, and they can create these bonds and these connections with other strangers in such a sweet little moment. That's really special to me.
I mean, there's clearly family trips that we took in my first visit, and later, just wanting to live, breathe, eat. I mean, look at all the books. I mean, it's like, I wanted to be working for Disney for so long. I had applied when I was in high school on a spring break and came down, and they were going to hire me. Like, well, you have to move here to Florida. And I go like, well, yeah, I got to finish high school. I guess I was a junior in high school at the time. And then tried to apply for the college program my freshman year, but I had to miss 2 quarters, and then came back, such, I look at a 25-year career and I'm like, it's hard for me to pick just, one moment, because there's just, again, as I said earlier, the people, but that probably stands out to me. Like, I look at it like, look, Walt Disney Company is 100 years old, 100 plus, right? It's over 100 years old now. And there's been people throughout that history that have such great stories and have weaved such a great tapestry of all this. And everyone on this call is holding that torch and carrying that legacy forward in some way. But to be able to interact and meet with people over my time here, people that helped build this place, people that helped created these dreams, people that made experiences unbelievable for guests, for their fellow cast members. I mean, to me, that was wild. John Hench comes to mind. He's a longtime Imagineer. I mean, he was working until he was like 94, 95 or so. And I just remember meeting him, and he loved color and use of color and such. And in just getting a chance to spend some time with him. When I met him, it was at a Walt Disney Imagineering headquarters. He was wearing a Disney Quest baseball cap, and a cardigan sweater, and an ascot. And I was like, well, one day those are dress goals to be able to just wear whatever I want. The number of things that he probably drew, colored, and how much they have been a part of people's photos, right? Like they're hanging on people's walls, out that. And I thought to myself, gosh, if I could only help leave the legacy in which I can do, the interactions I can create in my own sphere of working with people and creating experiences that are unforgettable for guests. And the work I do is in the community. So doing stuff for our community in Central Florida to help, inspire a different way forward and give people optimism. That is amazing. And I think to me, that's probably the memory that sticks out the most, is just getting a chance to carry forth something that was started long before I was here. And well, I think Walt said it, hopefully be after I'm gone, someone else will be carrying this on.
I would say I'd probably echo the sentiments of the ladies. As everyone's mentioned, it's really hard to just drill it down to one memory. But when I think about the memories that I've had with my family, though, that's what really sticks out to me. And specifically when I was an intern, and I invited my family down for Mother's Day weekend. And so I remember having my parents come, my sister, as well as my aunt. One of my dear aunts came. And that was actually the first time in my life I realized that I was actually able to experience attractions with my parents. Because growing up, of course, they would like take us to the fair, but they never got on the rides. And so it was just really cool to, have those experiences. And now, like, my mom's favorite attraction is actually soaring around the world. And so for her to, have like that reference point, and just knowing how special that particular trip was, that first time, just getting to share, the amazing experiences that we have with my family was truly incredible.
Awesome. Okay, so we obviously all love the company. That's why we're here. That's why we work here. But you guys could work for literally any company in the world. So why the Walt Disney Company? And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit with the brand affinity and the people, but is there anything else that really sticks out to you as to why you work here and you continue to work here? Because, like I said at the beginning, so many of us on this call have been here for 5+ years, 10+ years, 20+ years, 15+ years. So obviously there's a reason we all stick around. So Natalie, do you want to kick us off? Like, why Disney?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and we have already touched upon, the experiences we give to our guests, the culture here. For me, I look forward to going to work every single day, and I don't know how many people get the chance to say that. When I worked out at sea, I was visiting places that I only ever dreamed of being able to visit. I got to see so many different places. I got to experience so many different cultures. Waking up in a different port or being out at sea and these beautiful sights was truly a reason to get up and go to work every day. But even in this role right now, the fact that I get to make other people's dreams come true, I get to allow them to now start their journey with the Walt Disney Company and experience what we're experiencing. It is truly so rewarding. I think we can all agree our jobs are not easy jobs. I don't think there's any easy job at the Walt Disney Company. It's hard work, right? But when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. It genuinely feels like going and having fun with your family and creating magic, whether it's for a fellow cast, whether it's for future crew members or candidates, or for our guests. And it's so rewarding. And I feel the fact that even throughout my 20 years, I've seen myself grow and change and adapt. And there's just no other company like it. And I love that I'm inspired every single day to go above and beyond, create magic, and are empowered to create that magic for others.
Yeah, I think empowerment's key. I mean, I go back to, so I'm a big Epcot fan and I loved Horizons, the attraction. I rode it 40 times the last day of operation. Yes, it was wild. But I love the phrase in the lobby. Walt didn't say it, but it said, if we can dream it, we can do it. And to me, that's a motivator for me. It's like anything's possible. Anything we want to do, we can do, and I'm not alone by it because there's a great team of people that can help with it. But, I got a great leader who just encourages me to just make it happen. Just go and do it. When I was writing regularly for Disney Parks blog, I mean, I got a camera and a notepad and I just went and started writing, and the encouragement of that and just being able to try things I never thought I'd be able to do, being able to encourage others. I think about like my senior specialist right now, she's on a special assignment with our executive communications team because why not? It's a couple months. She gets to go experience that. She's early in her career. She gets a chance to work with a great team supporting our executives, like our president, site president. I mean, yeah, she should be able to do those things. And where else at Disney, but can you do those things? And having that kind of culture to the point earlier and just having that feeling of empowerment is just, that's why I keep coming back time and time again, because we can do anything. We put our mind to it.
I think you perfectly just describe what it is that keeps me at Disney. It's the innovation. I think year over year, there's always something amazing that Disney is doing that we can be a part of. We're always trying to find new ways to create magic and to build something new. And that spirit, that entrepreneur spirit at Disney keeps me here. And we take those employee surveys, right? How they want to kind of see how we're feeling and all of that. And there's a question that says, like, what's about Disney's future? And every time I look at that question, I do feel like the best years are ahead of us. And every year we make amazing strides. Every year we do something new and innovative. But I know there's always something more amazing, more magical coming our way. And I feel like that feeling of being part of something that's bigger than yourself is what makes working for Disney so special. And we could probably sit here for days talking about all the amazing things that we've done, honestly. And I probably, oh my gosh, before I take up too much more time, but that for me, it's the innovation. It's like the best days are ahead of us and the best is yet to come is why I love to work for Disney.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I just love hearing the passion of everyone and hearing our why. And, as podcast hosts, I think it's like it's one of those things where once you ask us this question, it's hard for us to stop talking about it. And, when I think about part of that question, you said you could work for any company, but why Disney? And so I would say for me personally, I back in 2020, my team was actually impacted, as many different employees and cast members were at that time. But I know that I'm purposed to be here and be at Disney because I was only away from the company for less than 6 months. And during that time, my friends, mentors, my network, when I tell you literally every week, someone was reaching out to me, talking to me, wanting to try to get me back with this company. And in God's perfect timing, the right opportunity came along. And so here I am. So knowing that I did have the opportunity to work for other companies, right, during that period, but there is purpose for me here, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of it and to be able to give students the opportunities to have internships. We have a tagline. We say we change lives, and we really do. And I know that we change lives because I started as an intern, and I can say that that internship completely changed my life. So that's why I'm here.
I absolutely loved what you just said, LaJoy, with the word purpose. I think that there's so many different avenues within the Walt Disney Company. We all work for different ones here, but we all have purpose in our roles. And I found that no matter what role I'm in at the time, I know we talked about the people who work here. I think I have found a company where me and my personality, my background, my passions, my weird quirks, I belong here at this company. And we've done a lot of work as a company towards inclusion and making that top priority. I feel that when I'm at work. It's very important for me in my personal life, and to feel that also in a place that I spend a lot of my day is really, really important to me. I think the Walt Disney Company attracts people who are creative, who are uh, really like enjoy that social atmosphere. But for me, like I grew up, I was a roller coaster fanatic. I grew up just knowing that the hospitality industry was something that I wanted to do. And when I was thinking, where do I want to work after school? I wanted to find my people. I wanted to find other people who had similar interests. And, I can come to work and I can nerd out about roller coasters, and that's a very normal conversation to have in a theme park. And that is something that keeps me with the Walt Disney Company. And if it's not even just theme parks, it's our stories, it's the movies. Like, I have so many friends who will go all together to see the newest Marvel movies. And that's just a part of who we are and my likes, my interests. And it's such a perfect marriage between my personal life and my professional life that this is the company that I continue to work for. I love working for. Um, that's what keeps me here.
So, Stephen, great wrap up to that question. And my next question is going to be a one word answer. And I am going to make you guys answer in one word, and that is it. So, if you all could describe your Disney career in one word, what would that word be? And LaJoy, I'll pick on you first.
Okay, so I actually have really been meditating on this, and I feel like it's a very Disney answer, but I'm going to say it anyway. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
One word. How do you describe it in one word? I'm gonna have to be pretty Disney as well, I'm afraid. As cheesy as it sounds, it's magical.
Oh man. um, you know, can we take a hyphen, or is this hyphenated? Life changing.
I'll allow that. I'll allow that for you, Cassie.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, one word, man. It's so hard, but I'm gonna stick with that. Life changing.
I think this word doesn't get used very often, but I love the word extraordinary.
Stephen, I have to tell you this. I kid you, as I was thinking about words, I kid you not, that word came up this morning because I was looking at my dictionary and my thesaurus. I'm like, how do I sum it up? And extraordinary was one of the words I landed on.
Perfect. So you can have that as your second word, and I'll have purpose for my second word.
I think the entire career at Disney, my experience has been incredibly rewarding. That was rewarding being the key word there, because you get into what you put into it, right? Get out of what you put into it. So the fact that we have opportunities to do what we do best, and I think about just the child who's riding Dumbo, right? And for the first time and has that experience, like they are flying, from that. And the cast member who welcomes them, gets them all set, maybe having to hold the feather or whatever they do, for that. To me, that's such a rewarding experience. It is a place that, it truly has been it's something rewarding, and just being able to help create that magic each and every day.
You guys all had that one word, and all those words were amazing, phenomenal, incredible, and I would agree with all of you. So thinking back to yourself as younger, you're just starting out in your career, you're trying to figure out what you wanted to do, whether that be like when you're in college or if you were in high school, whatever it might be. Looking back, what advice would you give to your younger self to land the job that you're in now?
I was always told from my parents that everything happens for a reason. And I would add to that is to trust the process. The reason I say this is because, as I shared earlier, it had always been a dream to work with Disney. And when I graduated from university and I got my degree, I'd saved up money so that I could fly to Orlando and audition, because all I wanted to do was dance in front of Cinderella's castle. So I did. I saved up my money and I flew over and I went to the audition, and I didn't get the job. And I thought that was the end of my Disney career before I'd even begun. So I then went and started working and gaining experience elsewhere. And then, sure enough, the following year, I applied because somebody had told me to go join a cruise ship. And I was like, okay, let's look into it. So I contacted somebody that was recruiting for Disney Cruise Line. And at that time, I didn't even know Disney had a cruise line, because over in the UK, we weren't promoting, we weren't advertising. There was no need. There was only 2 ships. And sure enough, I got that job. And I think if I had got the job at Walt Disney World dancing on the stage, I maybe would have done a year or two, but then being international, my contract would have come to an end. I would have had to leave. Whereas being at Disney Cruise Line, it allowed me the chance to continue that career. And here I am 20 years later. So everything happens for a reason, and trust the process.
I have a very similar story to that. Like, to be quite honest, oh my God, that's so funny now that you say that. Not exactly the same. I'm not a dancer, not a singer, okay? Anything like that. But I remember in college, like applying for jobs, and I was applying all the time to Disney college program. Never got one interview, never got one call. And I'm like, it's just not meant to be, you know? But as I was working my first full-time job, I decided, let me still apply to Disney careers. It was radio silence. Okay. For a long time, radio silence. But then out of nowhere, I got a call from a California number, and I don't pick up numbers I don't know. But I picked it up. I picked it up for some reason. And I was interviewed on the spot for a contract job at Disney to join enterprise talent acquisition. And I was still in Hawaii. And at that time, I was like, okay, let me explore this. And when within a week's or maybe a week and a half span, went from loving my job where I was working in Hawaii, I had a pension, I had a great leader, fulfilling job at the same time, to accepting a contract job where I would have to move myself on my own dime for nothing that was guaranteed, for the dream, for Disney. And I think in those moments, if I had kept reminding myself, bet on yourself, have faith, Don't lose sight of your goals. If I just told myself to have faith and remember everything happens for a reason, I would have saved myself the stress, the white hairs, the unnecessary late nights of wondering what am I doing with if I'm ever going to work for Disney, kind of thing. And it all worked out. And there were so many times in that journey, not getting to DCP multiple times, not getting even an interview to how many jobs I was applying for at Disney within HR. And then to be here today on a podcast talking to you all is just mind blowing, right? Is that another hyphen word? Mind blowing? I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah, and I think just if I could tell myself, like, remember, like, have faith, continue to bet on yourself, and remember, like, why not you, right? Like when you're feeling discouraged and you're feeling like imposter syndrome, remember, like, why not you? You have a unique perspective to bring that Disney embraces. To what Stephen was saying, it's like this place where the inclusion is a big part of like what we live and breathe, and our quirks, who maybe we thought were weird. There's a place for that at Disney, and it can be embraced. So, yeah, I think that would be my if I could go back and tell her, you'll be fine. It will work out. You'll be where you need to be. That would have been so comforting in the early stages of my career.
Just believe. Just it's hard to, right? You're feeling that. But I think belief is a very powerful thing. I think hope is a very powerful thing, and remaining optimistic. I think those are three things I would continue to tell, college program Stephen working at Pleasure Island from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Like, it ain't going to be this way all the time, but enjoy the moments and enjoy these things and just believe and then make it happen. Just have that vision in your mind. You talk about when you grow up and what you want to do. I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't know. And I've been here 25 years. I think, again, to Stephen's point earlier, you get a chance to do a lot of different things and you try a lot of different stuff, but just believe that you can do it and that you have a great network of people and support that can help you get there. But just internally, just take that and believe so wholeheartedly that whatever you want to achieve, you can make a reality. And that's what I tell myself.
Well, I think for me, and I've heard this word from a couple of our other hosts, but for me, I think definitely faith and purpose have been so important because when I think about as a child, uh, I remember my first dream was I wanted to own an ice cream shop. And then that dream expanded. I wanted to own a family entertainment center. So it was like I was always drawn to the hospitality industry. And while I might not own a family entertainment center, yet I still work for the largest family entertainment company, right? So everything always works together, all the various steps. I remember when I was in college and I was getting my MBA, and a lot of my colleagues, they would intern with accounting firms, etc. But I was always drawn to the hospitality industry. So I remember doing an operations supervisor internship with another amusement company. And then, of course, ultimately also getting the internship here. So just really trusting that desire that was in my heart, even as a child, to just like be a part of this industry. And then even when I was an intern, the role that I currently have didn't exist, so really just keeping yourself open to new opportunities and continuing to expand your mind, just trusting that process, having the faith, and knowing your purpose.
I think one of the first pieces of advice that I got from my leader when I first started the company, and she had a career of about 40 years with the company, was in order to do really well in this company, you have to have two things: patience and persistence. And she explained it, and I explained this to a lot of my college program cast members or interns or even just cast members who are just starting out, because this is a big company and things don't always go the way that you think, at least for your own timeline. That patience piece is really, really important. But sometimes patience and persistence can be at odds with each other, because if you are overly patient, you could be perceived as being very passive. So what I have learned in my career is in the waiting, for the next opportunity or for the next thing to come around, it's so important to be persistent, to make the connections, keep networking, work on yourself and your skills so that when the next opportunity presents itself, you are ready for that. And that has carried me through my entire career. Every time that I change roles, I think about all the work that I've done previously that has prepared me for the next chapter. And I think about all the work that I'm currently doing in my role right now and in my personal life that will lead me to the next. And that would be something that I would tell myself when I first started the company.
You raise an interesting point because during my first, I would say probably 3 to 5 years with the company, I remember a leader telling me essentially, when you work for Disney, you are upon Olympians. Because honestly, this is the first time in my life that, I had interviewed for a job and not gotten it. So it was kind of like one of those reality checks of just like everybody, like at the Olympics, which I love the Olympics, but everyone's excellent. Everyone's representing their nation. They're at the top of their game, but unfortunately only 3 people are going to get to stand on that podium. And so, like you said, it really is about just keeping that patience and persistence, and the right opportunities always find you. That's something that I tell my interns. The right opportunity, it's always going to come to you. You will not miss it.
So before we wrap, I want to do something that we've been kind of doing in all of our other interviews that my team, the TA marketing team, has been doing. So we're going to play a little game, this or that. So my first one, Disney World or Disneyland?
Okay, this is going to get me in trouble, but but I love Disneyland and Disney's California Adventures. I love the Walt Disney World Resort, but being that I live in Orlando, I get to experience it a lot. And so therefore there's something to me about going to Disneyland, experiencing that heritage, that place where Walt Disney actually, walked and dreamed. So I love the Disneyland Resort.
You know, this is probably blasphemous because I've never been to Walt Disney World, y'all, or a cruise line. I've never done either. It's on the list. It's meant for me and it will be for me eventually, right? So I have to say Disneyland.
As a park, Disneyland Park will always be something that I have just my earliest memories of. So Disneyland, even though I absolutely love Walt Disney World.
I mean, Epcot was the place that started it for me, so I have to lean, on it because it was an optimistic future, and it was Walt's greatest dream of having a city of tomorrow that could bring the world together. But without Disneyland, none of this would be a thing. Like that's, so the two are intertwined, and I love the intimacy and the specialness that you get, that feeling of at Disneyland. But Epcot and just Disney, what his Disney World has become is probably just near and dear to my heart.
Last one, live action or animated movies?
I'm going to say animated. It's just, I love the originals. I love the classics. It's very nostalgic for me. So animation through and through.
Agreed. The detail that goes into it, for sure. And I feel like even when you rewatch animated movies, you notice a new detail, a really unique, something like magical about animation.
I would say animated. I think that's what I grew up watching. I feel like you can have even more of an emotional connection sometimes with the animated characters.
I get the best of both because I like, live action. I think it's probably for me, And really, when I just say live action, I really mean Tron. That's really the only. That's what I'm really saying. And then there was the whole Tron Uprising, which was animated. So I get the best of both.
I think I would say animated for me as well. However, this most recent live action film, The Little Mermaid, being that I loved that movie as a child, and seeing Halle Bailey represent and play the part of Ariel so beautifully, it made 10-year-old me so happy on the inside. So yeah, so it was an excellent adaptation for sure.
All right. Well, you guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your very busy days to come and join me and just share a little bit more about your stories and your career journeys and why we all work for this amazing company. I cannot thank you all enough. If you liked this episode, stay tuned for the rest of season 2 of the Life at Disney podcast, where our host will be talking to some incredible guests from across the Walt Disney Company. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about how to make Disney a part of your story, follow us at Disney Careers on all social platforms or visit disneycareers.com. Stay tuned for our next episode and see you real soon.